James is 17 years old. He has not experienced emotions since childhood, but he meets Alyssa, who gives him strange feelings. He wants to kill her, but he falls in love and doesn't know how to do it.
We're at your house.
Yeah, sure.
From early childhood, James realized that he had no sense of humor. When James's father joked, the boy wanted to hit him in the face. When James was 9 years old, he dipped his hand into boiling oil to feel something. At the age of 15, James buried a cat in the forest, after which he killed several more animals. But now he needs a new victim, and it seems he has found one.
I've seen you skating.
Alyssa lives with her mother and stepfather. Tony hates Alyssa and constantly provokes her into conflicts. Alyssa's mom loves her babies more than Alyssa. Alyssa loves only her biological father, who left them during her childhood, but he sends birthday cards every year. Alyssa has a difficult character. She comes to school and during lunch, she receives a message on her phone from the girl sitting next to her.
What? I'm here? I'm literally here.
Alyssa breaks her phone. She notices James and approaches him to introduce herself. At that moment, James realized that he wanted to kill her. They go for a walk together, and Alyssa kisses James, but he feels nothing at all. He has to endure everything for the sake of his goal. Alyssa says that she broke her phone and there is no way to call her. James says he doesn't have a phone either. James asks Alyssa out on a date. The couple comes to the cafe, and Alyssa orders herself pancakes using swear words. Alyssa has a complex character. She tells James that everyone around is too boring and unexpectedly offers to go to James's house.
Yeah, sure.
Alyssa asks James about his mother. James says she left when he was little. James's father comes home, and he is very happy to see Alyssa as a guest. He thought that James was gay, but now he sees that this is not so.
Your dad's a prick.
Yeah, I know.
Alyssa asks James if he ever licked.
Yeah, few.
Alyssa offers to do this tomorrow at his house at 11 o'clock. James was ready for the meeting an hour before the appointed time. He prepared the knife and waited for Alyssa to come. But at this time, Alyssa helped her mother. Tony approaches Alyssa and asks her to leave the house forever. He says it will be better for everyone. Alyssa sees her mother and realizes that Tony is right. Alyssa comes to James and takes off her clothes.
I kind of think I could fall in love with him.
But James thinks about at what moment it is better to kill her. Alyssa suggests that James escape the city. She says that nothing holds them here and no one needs them. James agrees with her and offers to take his father's car.
I didn't know where we were going or when I was going to kill her.
James gets behind the wheel and they go on a trip. Alyssa enjoys her free life, but James only thinks about how she will scream when he pulls out his knife. Alyssa says that now they can do whatever they want and no one can stop them. After the fun, Alyssa suggests they go eat. She orders a lot of food and eats it all, but soon they remember that they spent all the money on entertainment. James doesn't know what to do, but he remembers that girls like bad boys and he just gets up and leaves without paying. They are driving down the road again, and Alyssa asks James to take off his t-shirt, which causes them to get into an accident. Alyssa feels funny, but James feels sorry for his father's car. In fact, Alyssa is also worried, but she doesn't talk about it.
What the f are we gonna do now?
They go to another road and try to stop the car. Only one man decides to help them. On the way, he talks about his family and says that he wants to buy a dog. This dog is one of the most dangerous in the world and will participate in dog fights. Alyssa didn't like this man right away.
You know, your car smells like feet.
The man brings them to a cafe to eat. A man orders food and shows a photo of his children. Alyssa says that his child looks like a pig and leaves. Alyssa herself doesn't understand why she communicates so rudely. Sometimes she simply cannot control herself and often regrets what she said. James goes to the toilet and the man follows him. The man stands next to James and looks strangely in his direction. Suddenly, he takes James's hand. James doesn't remove his hand.
Sometimes I just let things happen. I'm not sure why.
Alyssa comes into the toilet to apologize and sees this. She asks what is happening here. Alyssa thinks James likes guys, but he says he doesn't. The man tries to leave, but Alyssa stops him and asks him to give him his wallet, or else she will tell everything to the police. They leave the place and decide to get a hotel room. They enter the room and lie down on the bed. Alyssa becomes sad and goes to the bathroom to cry. At this time, James takes out a knife and thinks that this is the perfect moment to do it. But he hears that Alyssa is crying. This is not how James imagined this moment. He puts the knife away and waits for Alyssa. Alyssa leaves the bathroom and goes to the phone to call her mom, but Tony answers the call. He says that Alyssa may not come back because they are fine without her. She lies down on the bed and asks James to hug her. James's father decides to call the police. Alyssa wants to go to her father, but she is afraid that he will not recognize her. Alyssa says they need to wait a little before going to her father. They find a large house, and Alyssa decides to live in it for a while. The house has no CCTV cameras and no alarm system. Alyssa simply breaks the window and goes inside. She finds alcohol and offers James a drink. In the evening, they both get drunk and Alyssa starts dancing. Alyssa asks James to close his eyes and feel the music, and James relaxes and starts dancing. Alyssa kisses him and asks him to sit on the sofa. She takes off his pants and gets to work, but James stops her because the photo of the owner of the house bothers him. Alyssa gets offended by James and leaves. James felt something for the first time. He picks a flower in the yard and waits for Alyssa to return. Meanwhile, Alyssa meets a guy and invites him to go to her house. She brings him into the house and goes upstairs with him. James feels uncomfortable, but he just stays where he is. James remembered that he wanted to kill Alyssa, but to do this, you will have to wait a little. James decided to look around the house to complete his mission perfectly. In one of the drawers, James finds photographs and a video camera. He turns on the recording and sees that the owner of the house is a criminal. Meanwhile, Alyssa asks the guy to take off his clothes, but soon changes his mind and kicks him out. Alyssa is upset that she treated James badly and goes to bed. James enters the room and lies down on the floor. He came here to kill her, but he doesn't want to do it. At this moment, the owner comes into the house and sees that someone has broken into his house. James is hiding under the bed. The man enters the bedroom and sees Alyssa on the bed. He closes the door and sits on the bed.
Please don't.
He guesses that Alyssa has never had a man before. He starts touching her and leans on top of her, but James uses his knife to save Alyssa. The man falls to the floor and realizes that his end has come. James says he needs to call the police and tell them it was self-defense, but Alyssa says the police won't believe them because they broke into his house. Then they decide to remove all the evidence, but they cannot lift the body. They decide to leave the body here and begin cleaning the apartment. They wash the floors, wipe off all fingerprints, and throw away the trash. James hides the knife in the most obvious place. James goes up to the bedroom and looks at the man's body. He thinks that he accomplished his goal, but he imagined it differently. James does not feel joy or pleasure. He's scared because of what he did. Alyssa asks what he is doing. She thinks James is dangerous. James says that if he had not done this, the man would have killed her. He shows photos and videos of other women who were victims of this man. Alyssa comes up with a plan. They place the photographs next to the body and leave. They burn their clothes and all evidence and go to the city. Alyssa says they need to change their appearance so the police don't find them.
Turns out James is quite a good hairdresser.
Alyssa has changed a lot after what happened. James noticed that she was afraid of him. She asks James where he got the knife. James says he always carries it with him. Alyssa doesn't like his answer. Meanwhile, the mother of the murdered man comes into the house. She burns all the photographs and calls the police. The police arrive at the crime scene. Detective Noon and Detective Dergo begin their investigation. Under the bed, they find documents belonging to this guy. He talks about how he met a girl named Alyssa, and she invited him home. He says that there was also a young guy named James in the house. The police put them on the wanted list. James and Alyssa arrive at the cafe, and James notices that Alyssa is afraid of him. He asks, why is she acting like this? Alyssa says she constantly thinks about how James uses his knife. James tries to cheer Alyssa up, but she goes to the toilet and runs away. James waited for her for another 30 minutes, but soon realized that Alyssa had left. He doesn't know where to go, and realizes that Alyssa was the only meaning of his life. James feels lonely. He approaches a group of guys and they beat him up. James thought that he was Alyssa's protector, but he was wrong.
I was never Alyssa's protector. She was mine.
If you want to see a continuation, Like the video and click on the bell to be the first to watch new videos.